Hello and welcome back to Crafty Concepts with Erin. Today is day 4 of our Halloween card series. Hey there everyone, I have a fun card to share with you today. This one might be my favorite so far. Let me show you a quick peek. Look at all those beautiful colors and that cute little owl. We're going to start with an A2 size piece of black cardstock, and then I'm taking the ring from my shaker window thin cuts. I'm going to secure this down. I'm just eyeballing it right in the top portion of the card, just centering it side to side there. I'm going to secure this into place with my Post-it removable tape, and then I'll run this through my die cutting machine. So now we can go ahead and pop that window out. We're not going to use that piece. We can save it for another project. And now I have this Cascading Dots embossing folder. We're going to give this card panel some texture. So we're sandwiching it into our embossing folder. And I know it's hard to see on camera, but it really looks cool when you see it in person. I'm going to use a little bit of black ink to go around the edges just to camouflage that white core, because for this project I don't want that showing. So I go around with my sponge tool and make sure to do the inside of your circle as well, just like this. And then we can set that aside. So now we're ready to do some ink blending. This is a 4x4 square. I'm just using this die cut circle. I'm going to make some marks on the outside so I know where my window is. Now I'm starting in the center with mustard seed distress oxide ink. So we're just going to put down a little circle of the mustard seed, and then we're moving on to this spiced marmalade color, and we're just going to kind of go around the circle like so, and then we'll go back over it with the yellow just to blend those two colors together. You can always put a little bit of tape on your fingers so you don't get all inky in the process. I know it's hard to appreciate the blending on camera, but trust me, the finished result is beautiful. So I am going to add a little bit of this Seedless preserves, and this looks really cool. It just adds this cast of eerie purple coming in from the edges of the window that we're going to create. So I think my inking or ink blending is good. I'm happy with that. You can see what that's going to look like when we put the black cardstock back over the top. I'm just going to clean this up really quick and get that out of the way. And now we're ready to do some stamping. I've used this in recent videos. I love this pumpkin, and we're going to use a little leaf there. And then this is the Woodland Friends stamp and thin cut set. So I got the thin cuts. You can get it with or without, but I love this thankful word and all these cute critters. We're going to use the little owl today. I have a piece of white daisy, fern, paprika, and nectarine. I'm using my basic black ink to stamp the pumpkin and also the little leaves there. So I'm going to stamp one on the paprika color here, and then I'm going to repeat that on the lighter side of the nectarine. And then I want to use this fern cardstock, and I'm going to stamp 1, 2, and 3 leaves. Now for my owl, I'm going to use intense black ink because I'm going to color this image in with alcohol markers, and the intense black is alcohol marker friendly. I'm going to be using the Spectrum Noir TriBlends, and let me get these guys out of the way. So the colors I'm going to be using is the coral, and then I have the lavender, and then this is the brown gray. Now I want to make sure that ink is good and dry before I start coloring. Let me zoom you in there. I'm going to start with my brown gray color, and I'm using the dark brown to do the little owl's ears here, and then I'm going to go around the edge of his head, coloring in this area just like so. And then I'm going to switch to the medium marker and kind of shade over that, blending in, extending the color just a bit further, and then I'll use the light color to fill in the center there. Now as these dry, you'll see the shading even more so. I'm using a black marker to go over the little wings. I want to cover up that cute little flower pattern because I love it, but it's just not quite for the Halloween vibe we're going for. I want to add more black onto him, so I'm just going to do the little tips of his ears like so. And now for his little beak and feet, I'm using the medium shade of the coral marker. For his body, I'm using Lavender, and I'm starting with the darkest shade and just going around the outside. And you want to keep it circular. It actually works well because the way the stamped image goes, we already have those circular lines. So I'm just kind of following those. And again, I will just go lighter as I get towards the center. So again, just going around the edges there, I'll move to the medium, and then I'll do the very center with the lightest color. And I do recommend you go over the whole image with that light color just to really blend it in. There, we just turned our cute little woodland friend from a fall theme stamp into a Halloween owl. I've gone ahead and die cut all those pieces. Now I did fussy cut the owl because I didn't want any white at all. So before we put our card together, I'm going to use this Happy Halloween spider web and my VersaMark ink. I'm going to put a little spider web in the upper corner. I've just gone ahead and used my anti-static pouch. Now you do want to make sure anytime you're embossing onto a distress oxide background that it's dry. Because of its pigment-like properties, it will stay wet for a while and your embossing powder will stick. So definitely make sure that's completely dry. And then you can see I'm just using the bottom portion of my spider web. I'm going to bring in a little black embossing powder here. Now, if you don't have black, you can use a black pigment ink with a clear embossing powder, and that works very well also. Just use a little paintbrush if you have any stray embossing powder, and then you can go ahead and get that heat set. I like to start from the back. You can see that melting and turning shiny. We'll finish off from the front there. And how cool is that? I'm applying double-sided adhesive foam tape to the back. Now we could very easily create a shaker card with this, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. My friend Carrie Simmons over from Miss Carrie's Creations just created a video featuring a faux shaker card, and it was beautiful. She created the look of a shaker without creating the actual shaker. So we're going to do something similar here. One little tip I want to share is take a black marker or whatever color your cardstock is and go around the edge of your foam tape. It will look much better from the side of the card, and it's these little extra steps that make a big difference. I want to go ahead and do the inside of the window as well, just where you might be able to look in and see that at an angle. So we can go ahead and remove our foam tape backing, and you just line it up, having that cobweb peek out the side, and then I'm going to use tape runner, and we're going to adhere this to a top folding note card I created with black cardstock. So we're going to line up the edges here, and having this extra dimension just looks really nice with that Distress Oxide background there. I wanted a little pattern paper, so I brought this out of my stash. I don't even know how old this is, but I wanted some purple. So if you don't have purple, you could easily create some by inking up your own and then stamping some images on it. I just wanted to bring in more purple to go along with our little owl character. I have just a tiny, tiny little strip of black shimmer paper here. I'm gluing this down across where the top of the pattern paper meets the cardstock, and now we can layer up our embellishments. I'm tucking this first little pumpkin in the nectarine color off to the side, and then we'll overlap our paprika pumpkin just like so. And now for the owl, part of him will be already at level with the pumpkin, so we just want to put adhesive foam on the back of the upper portion of the owl. I almost forgot I want to color in this stem with my golden brown marker. Just do that really quick, and now we can put our owl into place. Just like so. Perfect. And I have these little pumpkin leaves that we stamped and die cut out using a liquid glue on just the tips of them. I'll put one over here and then layer the other two on the left-hand side under this pumpkin. We'll put one underneath and one on top, just like so. There, that's perfect. I really like the pop of green and the color that adds. It looks really nice. So you could leave your card just like so, but I couldn't resist. There's this Got Candy loose sequins. Look at all these fun shapes. Let me show you. There's even a little ghost in there. and they're just really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and use my jewel picker and apply some of these to create this faux shaker card look. So I like to use the white liquid glue for adhering sequins. It has just a little bit of flex to it, so the sequins aren't as likely to pop off. It works well for these. Since the little spiders are kind of large, I'm just going to put 3 of those. Now, I have a funny story. When I made the first card, I cleaned everything up and then I came down the next morning to film this video, and one of these little spider sequins was left randomly on my desk, and I hadn't had coffee yet, and I thought that spider was real. It scared me. All of a sudden, I didn't need coffee. I was wide awake. I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of spiders as my crafting companions, so I was glad this is just a sequin spider. So as you can see, I'm just picking up little bits of the sequins in different color and quote unquote randomly putting them in my window. So you know how it is when you shake a shaker card up, some of the little sequins clumps together, some kind of sticks to the side, and it's just all over the window and it looks really nice. So we're trying to recreate that look by placing them. Some are together, some I'm kind of tucking under the side, as you can see, and I get to pick and choose what pieces and colors I want to incorporate onto my card. So the inside's black and we need a place to write our sentiment, so I'm going to add just a panel of the White Daisy cardstock. So line that up just like that, and here is our finished card. Oh, but wait, I almost forgot. I want to put a little liquid glass onto the eyes of the owl. This will just give him a shiny finish and just add a little life to his eyes. So there's a lot going on in this card. We have dry embossing, heat embossing, distress ink oxide blending, sequins, glitter paper, you name it. So it all works together cohesively to create this fun card. If you've missed the first cards in the Halloween card series, you can catch that right here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll catch you next time.